All right, you're making it. We've covered a lot of material. There's still a little bit left, and you're almost ready to take that exam. So I know you can do this. You're doing awesome. We've learned a lot. We're going to talk about water. Water, water, water. Water, water. I could say it 98 times. Water quality and its impacts and how to manage some of this for your best brew experience. When you're brewing coffee, water is super critical. And, you know, a lot of people just think water is water, but the reality is if you take some water from the tap, if you buy a really cheap bottled water, if you buy really fancy bottled water, and, you know, early in the morning after you've kind of woken up, before you've eaten anything, if you taste 1, 2, 3 different waters, you will recognize that all water is not created equal. That the water from your tap may have some kind of chemicals and have this smell. The water that's really cheap from the whatever generic plastic bottle, it'll just be very flat. And then that high quality, you might have to pay $3, $4 to get that bottle of water. This is a fun experiment. You take that and it'll kind of be sweet and it'll be almost like it has body. It's thick and it has mineral content. Each of these 3 waters will be different, okay? Water is not created equal, and water is super, super important to coffee. So a normal cup of coffee, when you pour that coffee and you're pouring your water through your filter, right? All you're doing is you're dissolving whatever ground coffee you have in that filter, you're dissolving it into your cup. But when you're done, a lot of coffee is still up here in your filter and you throw it away. There's a lot that we can talk about with the brewing and the amount of dissolved solids that go into that, and the brewing foundations class will go much more into this, the brewing content. But the key to understand here is that when you brew a cup of coffee, I'm looking around for my cup. When you brew a cup of coffee, if I brew, this is a big cup. It's a beautiful multilingual cup from Starbucks. If I brew this cup of coffee, it's like 400 milliliters, 400 grams of coffee. If I brew this cup full, what's 400? 2% of 400. 1% of 400 is 4 grams. I'm going to say 8 grams. Only 2% of this coffee is actually dissolved coffee. 8 grams of 400. So 392 grams of the beverage, the liquid that's in here, is just water. 98% of this big cup is water. And so that means that if I started with really nice, tasty water, and then I brewed my coffee, and I dissolved 8 grams of coffee into this giant cup, and I drank it, then that 8 grams of coffee plus this 392 grams for 400 milliliters, 400 grams, okay, we're talking it's almost like a 16-ounce cup of coffee. It's going to have a great chance to taste good because I started with good water and then I dissolved a little bit of great coffee into it. Now, what happens if I start with bad water? What do you think the chances are of me having a great cup of coffee when I start with bad water? The chances are really low. So if you smell the water that you're using to brew your coffee and it smells like sulfur, if it smells like chlorine, if it smells like fluoride, if it smells like old metal pipes, you know, a lot of the water that we have at our homes and even that we get in the city for our cafe or our roastery, wherever we have coffee, that water can very well be compromised. Just drink it straight from the tap. Take a cup, drink it, smell it, see if you love that water or if you'd rather not drink it. you should not use bad water to try to make good coffee. It's impossible. Okay? So enough said about your water selection. This is not water shaming. This is water informing. Bad water in is going to guarantee bad coffee out. But if you start with good water in, then you have a chance to get good coffee out. But you still have to do a little bit of work here. So let's talk about that with brewing. It's not really as harsh as I make it out to be. But I do want you to know that it's pretty serious. I mean, this is a beautiful beverage that we drink every day, maybe multiple times daily. If you're anything like me, you drink multiple cups daily, and you want it to taste good, and you want to know that whatever you're putting into your body is not harmful. So, filtered water for professionals for the cafe, that's a standard. And a lot of people will ask me, Adam, how come my coffee at home just never tastes as good as it does at the cafe? And they always try to think, and they always talk to baristas, and the baristas always try to tell them, you know, it's probably because you're not grinding it right? You don't have a really awesome professional grinder. Or it's probably because you're not brewing it right, or because your brewer is dirty, or all these other variables. The reality is 98% of the time, it's because their water is bad at their home. Fix your water, and you're gonna most likely fix your coffee. At least if your water's good and you brew a crappy cup of coffee because you don't know what you're doing, 98% of it's going to be delicious and 2% of it's going to be rubbish. So there you go. If we were in school, you'd be happy with the 98% on your next exam. So this is just a real quick introduction to water. How do you know if your water quality is good? At the introduction level, all I want to say is if you enjoy drinking the water, if you can boil the water and it doesn't have a funny smell, because sometimes cold water, you know, we put ice cubes in it. We put ice in our water so that we can bear to drink it. If you can drink your water lukewarm, if you can drink it hot and it doesn't smell weird, then it's probably pretty good coffee. It's probably pretty good water. And it'll probably give you a better cup of coffee. Okay, so that was a long talk on water, but I can't emphasize enough that good water in gives you a good chance for good coffee out. The other thing that you want to pay attention to is that different places, depending on the city that you're in, or if you live out in the country and you have water from the well, there's going to be different levels of mineral content. Okay, so if you notice on your water boiler, this has just a little bit of calcium buildup right there. Okay, so as I boil my water, I'm getting just a few of the minerals that are collecting. That means that I do have a little bit of calcium in my water. Now, I don't mind that because this is not an espresso machine, this is a coffee roaster. But if I have an espresso machine, or if I have an automatic coffee dripper that I want to make sure is operating properly, that is boiling the water without compromise, then I'm probably going to want to make sure that I have a filter in place, because the filter can help catch some of those minerals, and it'll also filter out if you have any chemicals, chlorine, fluoride, things that add flavors to your coffee that you don't want. So pay attention to mineral content. If you see mineral buildup, then you can clean your equipment. You know, I like to brush it, or I like to clean it every now and then. And you can also just make sure that any of your machines or your boilers stay safe. So if you recognize something, dryness in your mouth, something smells funny in your water, pay attention to your body. Your body's actually really smart, but most of us don't take time to pay attention to our water. And it's actually super important because it's the majority of the coffee that you're drinking.